You are watching Russia Unmasked. The company's philosophy, often referred to as a Palantir Manifesto, argues that modern state security is impossible without artificial intelligence having full access to data and enabling governments to act preemptively. The key question is Europe or any democracy ready to accept this model?
It has all of the mandates, if you like, suitable for a dictatorship, for a single government body that will just control what we think, what we say.
Why is China becoming the focal point of so many geopolitical movements?
If you put the figures to your question, China is not. It is a quiet, sleeping, non-aggressive giant.
Hello and welcome. You are watching Russia Unmasked, and I am your host Andii Bohdanovych. And today we will discuss events that took place last week, as well as broader phenomena shaping the development of modern society. At the same time, we will try to analyze them. Joining me in this discussion is Professor Tony Meehan, a public relations specialist with 50 years of experience. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you very much, Andrei. It's always good to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity and the subject discussions.
Thank you. And let us begin with what can already be called the present future: artificial intelligence and its development, both in civilian and military domains. More specifically, Palantir. For context, Palantir Technologies is an American technology company that develops large-scale data analytics systems for military, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies. Its platforms integrate fragmented data from geolocation and financial transactions to surveillance camera feeds into a unified digital picture designed to predict threats before they emerge. The company's philosophy, often referred to as a Palantir Manifesto, argues that modern state security is impossible without artificial intelligence having full access to data and enabling governments to act preemptively. The key question is Europe or any democracy ready to accept this model? A world in which AI prevents threats at the cost of access to every citizen's private life stands on a razor's edge between security and totalitarianism.
The manifesto is logical. The manifesto is to be expected, and the manifesto purports to help society, but at the same time it promotes its own ethos and its own commercial enterprise. The reality is that AI is with us. So therefore what we have to decide is AI going to control us, or are we going to control AI? I have personal concerns about artificial intelligence with regards to that. It has all of the mandates, if you like, suitable for a dictatorship, for a single government body that will just control what we think, what we say. We no longer have the opportunity, or if you like, the need to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and write a sentence. So therefore, I have personal, professional concerns about that. Having said that, we must be positive and learn to live with artificial intelligence and use it to our best ability. I think there is a responsibility on behalf of the citizens of the world, by the governments of the world, to ensure that the owners and the operators of AI conform with law, and if necessary, introduce new laws to ensure that they do. If we use it as a tool to our benefit, we will enjoy it and benefit from it. If we use it as a comfort and just an excuse to do something, then I think one day, maybe down the road, maybe I wouldn't say centuries, but most certainly decades, that we will find that we will be subject to its control.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Big Brother, am I right?
Correct. Yeah, it's a very good analogy. A very good analogy. Yes, I would agree with you completely. Yes.
Okay. Next question about AI. Nuclear weapons were historically constrained by the difficulty of accessing uranium. However, all enabled drone technologies require only software code and commercially available chips, and they are already spreading globally. What then becomes the new mechanism of deterrence in a world where traditional sanctions and non-proliferation regimes may no longer be effective?
If you have no controls and no agreements, then you have chaos and you have difficulty and you have the potential for destruction. So if we just park that simple statement there, with regards to the next generation, what happens? In many respects, Ukraine, since February 2022, has learned that lesson as to, and also the answer to what happens next, because it's gone from a peaceful nation to a war nation in less than a year, and in that period and the subsequent 3 years, it has developed an infrastructure and a military defense process that enables it to become among the world leaders today of the missile and also the drone warfare. So it's changed, it's adapted and changed the method of war, the art of war, to meet its own needs and its own abilities. I mean, let's put it into true perspective. You've got 170 million Russians and you've got 43 million Ukrainians, and Ukrainians are holding the Russians to a standstill and have done, for 4 years and 3 months. In fact, it's 3 months today, 4 years and 3 months today, that Russia invaded Ukraine. So I think the AI, artificial intelligence, and/or other computer systems will contribute to discovery and also the development of new weapons. Hopefully, there won't be too many wars where they will be needed.
Mhm. And can artificial intelligence truly be entrusted to a small group of corporations or billionaires? How can global regulation keep pace when private companies are already surpassing governments in both AI development and funding capacity?
Yeah. If you take social media and the lack of controls and the lack of responsibility which major companies and billionaires exercise on their own systems, whereby you have children, I'm talking 12-year, 14-year, 16-year children, uh, getting into relationships that they shouldn't be getting into, committing suicide because they've been encouraged online, because they have the access to an area referred to as the dark web. The lack of control in these areas gives great concern for any future control on artificial intelligence. The governments have the responsibility. They need to come in and actually tell and introduce laws whereby these companies uphold their responsibilities. I hate to say this, but I think unless there is a commercial, financial, whatever penalty afforded on the companies or the individuals, you don't get their attention. And I think we need to get their attention, and if necessary, and there's no reason why we shouldn't sit down with them and agree a program of government of their responsibilities, and also the what they are delivering to the audience is actually delivered and not infiltrated, and the audience, i.e., you and I, are protected.
Mhm. And from global to global local, to politic. In recent weeks, diplomatic activity has accelerated. Donald Trump is reportedly planning a visit to Xi Jinping. Vladimir Putin has traveled to China. Xi Jinping is reportedly considering a visit to North Korea. Why is China becoming the focal point of so many geopolitical movements? Does this indicate that China is emerging as a new global leader, effectively replacing the United States amid tensions between Washington and Europe, and Russia's growing alignment with Beijing? And if so, what should Europe's strategic response be?
I'll answer your last part of the question first, and as to what Europe should do. Europe should show respect to China. If you put the figures to your question, China is not. It is a quiet, sleeping, non-aggressive giant. I mean, if you think of its financial situation in the world, it is $47 trillion a year. The United States is $34 trillion a year. Russia is $7 trillion a year. So you can see the scope and size of the power that China has. I don't know anybody who does know what the military assets of China are, but one can assume that they are significant. So therefore, China does not consider the United States or, in fact, Europe as a military threat. It sees it, both countries, as an economic benefit. It's a marketplace where they can actually earn revenue. I would think, again, I haven't done the research on it, I'm sorry to say, that China is probably debt-free, unlike the United Kingdom and many other countries. It runs on debt. So therefore, China does need respect. It's been busy away for years, decades, just building its position. And under its current government, management, whatever you want to call it, leadership, it has established its rightful place in the world as being a productive and a very industrious and important country.
Mhm. And now about nuclear exercises. Belarus is conducting nuclear military exercises. Russian forces stationed there are reportedly training the use of strategic weapons capable of targeting the United States, while also employing tactical nuclear threats as a form of intimidation.
Yeah.
Who is this signaling intended for or signed? Is it directed at the United States, the European Union, or it's primarily aimed at psychological pressure on Ukraine, using weapons that are unlikely to be used in practice against it?
It's all of the above. It's a typical Russian move whereby you have a single action which grabs your attention. You focus it, you look at it, and you ask yourself the question why. The message there are different messages to each of the audiences that you referred to, and you missed out one audience, and that is the Russian home audience. But we'll get onto those shortly. I don't see it as a physical military threat to Ukraine. I see it more as a psychological and also media gathering attention threat to Ukraine. There's nothing that Ukraine can do in response to a nuclear attack, and that would be dependent upon NATO and or others who in fact hold nuclear weapons. With regards to America, I think it's saying to America, just be careful. We're here. We've put our weapons in a close place where we can actually reach you. It's not necessarily for Europe, that message. That is a specific message for the North Americans. Whether they pay attention to it, whether they listen to it, whether they ignore it, only they will decide. So far as Europe is concerned, it's a bigger threat. I don't see them using it seriously, because if you think about it, you would then start World War III. And with World War III, there's no guarantee that, let alone Russia, any other country would be around as in fact none of them would be around as they are at the present moment. So therefore, it's them it's Putin just saying, you think I'm out of action, you think I have no more moves to make, just watch this, and that's it. With regards to the Russian audience, he's saying, we are strong, we are powerful. We have positioned the defense of your country, the defense of your lives first, and therefore we have moved our nuclear power and nuclear weapons as a threat to those who may consider to actually interfere with us. You see, Russia at the present moment, Putin's Russia at the present moment is struggling economically. It's really tough there. My contacts tell me that. The military side of it is disastrous. I mean, it's one day after another. It's anywhere between 900 and 1,200 soldiers are being killed or injured, and therefore you're looking at hundreds of thousands. Well, I think we're coming up to 1.4 million soldiers since the beginning of the war in 2022. Now that's a lot. and he cannot recruit and is not recruiting enough. So that's why he's bringing in foreign troops into his own international brigades to fight against Ukraine from North Korea and also from Africa. So it's a typical Putin ploy. I would be surprised because I think he's smart enough to know that were he to use them, it would start World War III, and that would be the end of everybody.
And last week also brought several diplomatic developments related to the war in Ukraine and its possible resolution. Ukraine's foreign minister Sybiha stated that the war is entering a decisive phase. At the same time, Friedrich Merz, in a letter to European leaders, proposed an associated membership model for Ukraine within the European Union. Merz emphasized that EU enlargement is geopolitical necessity. However, he clarified that this would not be a light membership for Ukraine, but rather a framework that goes beyond the existing associated agreement and accelerates the accession process. It would also include participation in EU institutions, but without voting rights. The key question is, what makes this model attractive for both the European Union and Ukraine?
If we take the Ukraine interest first, it gets Ukraine closer on a day-to-day basis in the activities of the European Union, and it allows Ukraine to see it more closely from the inside and then decide whether it wants to be part of the EU. With regards to the EU, it does a couple of things. First of all, it sends a message to Putin that says, we're not going to be bullied by you. We're not going to be put down by you. Our thinking and our objective is to the best of our ability, when the moment is right, is to welcome Ukraine into the European Union. We have to understand that the European Union is an economic partnership as opposed to a pure military. Although all of the members, if not many of the members of the EU, are in a different military partnership through NATO. But in this instance, we're talking about the economic benefit, and that puts a weakness, shows further weakness into Putin's wish for the Soviet-style empire that once was, and therefore that's another country that's disappeared from the Eastern Bloc, the original Eastern Bloc. So the benefits, I think, I would like to say, I will say, it will enable the relationships between the European Union and Ukraine become more formalized, more established, and therefore hopefully ease its access and its ability and its membership application. Not necessarily do it outside the law or outside the rules, but actually make it more easier for Ukraine to identify what it needs to do and get on with it, make the changes that it needs to make.
Thank you for your attention. This was Tony Meehan. Thank you. We welcome your comments and reactions, and we are interested in your views on the development of artificial intelligence and contemporary global politics. Please share your thoughts below. This was Russia Unmasked. See you next week.
Goodbye.